Hello there! I am Cosmic the Dolphin, and this game is Shin Samurai Jazz. Now, this is a submission video to any sort of marathon as to why this game is an interesting little speed game, along with commentary as I might give in a marathon setting. Now, this game is actually very difficult, and that is because it is a bad game with some glaring control issues. So that makes it a bit of a challenge to do some things consistently. However, it is quite an enjoyable watch. I am wearing this trench coat and this hat because every character in the game is dressed like this, even though it's supposedly set in Edo, Japan. So here we go. We start with the game, and the first thing you'll notice is that talking and doing things, for whatever reason, the controls to actually speak to somebody is up on the D-pad, not, another face button. I'm not entirely sure why. So to mash, you have to mash up on your D-pad. In fact, a lot of movement options are mapped to odd choices on the D-pad, which means that sometimes you just do things that you didn't really want to do, actually. This game does have very interesting movement, which makes it much more bearable to play than the issues that it has would lead you to actually believe. The main thing and the main reason why movement in this game is interesting is the fact that you have a dash and a double jump. So I can jump and then dash, I can jump once, dash, and then jump again. I can do it in any order I want. So there is quite a bit of movement and mobility options to us, which is by far the best part of this game. Now, the difficult parts of this game is trying to figure out the storyline and figuring out what you're supposed to be doing at any given point in time. That is actually almost impossible. So, currently we are in a mansion because we are investigating the appearance of yokai, and a bunch of yokai have supposedly appeared in the mansion, so we went and did that. However, first off, we needed to get the keys to get into the mansion, so we had to go talk to some specific NPCs in a specific order to get the keys. And our first boss fight is at the end of this mansion. Every single chapter in this game is divided into a series of areas where we need to clear out yokai and get keys to do that. So generally there are very specific NPCs we need to speak to be able to get those keys. And unfortunately, while this game has very good movement options and it's quite a fun experience to just goof around with how many movement options you have, the game constantly throws enemies at you and throws combat in your face whenever combat is by far the worst part of the game, instead of focusing on how unique the movement system this game actually has is. It also makes you backtrack to certain NPCs very often, which is a large portion of the time you will spend at this game, and it is quite a drag casually. So here we are to our first boss fight, and if everything goes well, we are going to just get through this guy right quick. Yep, that is our first boss fight down. That was actually a gold split. Now, we need to get into the theater here in Act 2, but all of the tickets to the theater are sold out, so we need to get our way into the theater in instead by getting tickets from somebody that happens to have any that they might want to share. So that is what we are doing right now. We talked to one NPC that said, hey, I know that my brother has an extra ticket, but I think he left behind a pair of keys in the corporate office he works at. So if you could go into corporate, I'm sure he would happily give you his extra theater ticket for the effort. So that's what we're doing. Oh, and I did not actually get to hit that switch. So now we've hit the switch and we can get out of that thing. So we just get rid of those enemies to be able to jump around that area easily. We do need to be able to jump in and out of that lower area quite often, so not having to deal with the enemies. Oh, I completely missed that jump. Oh well, it is a massive help. However, down here we don't actually need to mess with all of them. So now we got the keys from the corporate office. We find the brother that says, oh, thanks for getting that for me. I'll give you my extra tickets to get into the theater. And that is what we are doing now. We are now in the theater, and we just need to hop around, and we just need to open up all the switches so that we can actually get to the next door. Most of this game is built around making large circles around rooms instead of going from room to room where we have to hit a bunch of switches in a specific order. This is an obvious attempt at padding out the time of the game, and it certainly does pad out the timing of the game, actually. However, there are some interesting rooms, such as the one we are in, that are more or less puzzles trying to show you how you can get through an area quickly based on your momentum skills and your movement abilities. This particular set of enemies is incredibly necessary to get rid of, and the reason being is that we need to get back to this ledge later, and if any of the enemies just happen to be sitting at the end of that ledge when we need to come back around after getting the key here, it literally becomes impossible to get back on the ledge again. So just kind of have to get rid of all those enemies and not damage boost through them, as we might be able to in other parts. 1, 2, 3, there we go. So now we just need to hit a bunch of switches again to get to the next room. Fortunately, we need to wait on some specific patterns to go through to get this key here. And now we can actually go back to the exit, back from where we had originally come from. And I can just damage boost through you. And now I just need to hit the switches down here. And I can get in here, and we are to the second boss of the game. If we kind of make them domino into each other, they all take a bunch of damage, so that's what we're going to try to do. This game, again, is supposedly set in Edo, Japan, hence all the yokai, but it's supposedly also greatly influenced by film noir, hence why everybody's wearing all of the bizarre styles of dress. So we now need to get into a mall where a bunch of yokai have appeared. So to figure out how to get into the mall, we have to speak to one NPC that says, if you go into the government office and ask for keys, they might give you keys to the mall. We go there, they say, we'll get you keys for the mall if you get us hamburgers from the restaurant named Eat. We go into the restaurant named Eat and they say, we ran out of hamburger buns, so we can't give you a hamburger at the moment. But if you go to the restaurant named Food and pick up a hamburger bun for us, we'll gladly give you a hamburger. We do that, and we take the resulting hamburger back to the government office, and we can enter the mall. Every single NPC you saw tells you different things as to what you should do to get into the mall, and it is possibly meant to act like a film noir scene where you have to investigate a bunch of statements that people say, but in reality it just is much more confusing than it's actually worth, and it's not a very fun playing experience. Fortunately, in a speed run, we already know which NPCs are telling the truth and where we actually need to go. Now that we're in the mall is by far the best act in the game because there's very few NPCs or enemies around once we're inside. In fact, there's no NPCs around and there's very few enemies. Instead, we just need to visit a bunch of stores in the correct order, which casually is very annoying to figure out what's the correct order of stores that you're supposed to visit. But once you know the order, it's not terribly bad. Oop, and I accidentally hit those spikes, so I took a death. But whatever. It's not the exact end of the world. But we can just get back through. But once you know where to go, this part of the run becomes much more focused on actually the good part of this game. That very varied movement that we mentioned earlier with how many double jumps we actually have, which is pretty handy. So now that we've visited enough stores, we have the exit key to get into the next area of the mall. We can just damage boost through those guys instead of dealing with them. So now we've got more movement-based areas, more specific jumping patterns that we're supposed to go through. Oh, and I lost all my jumps because I took damage on the spikes, so even though I had another jump and another dash left, the game just kind of ate all the inputs. Sometimes when you take damage, you can still act afterward. Sometimes you can't. It is entirely random if you have actions or not. I don't have very much health left, so I need to take that last area a little bit more carefully, but here we go. Now this area, I got shot by that one spike wall as I was coming back down, but that's fine. Don't actually need that much health. Your health does reset every time you enter a new area. And then we just need to get into the next store that we actually want to go to. And we have just enough time if we hit our cycles right to hit that switch before the spikes come up again. And we're just making our way through. And that's working out pretty well. You see, that time I had another jump again, so I hit the spikes, but it didn't actually matter in the end. So there's only one more store I actually need to visit before I go to the boss fight of Chapter 3. The Chapter 3 boss is one of the most unfair bosses in any game I've ever dealt with casually. But once you know the timings of what's happening, it becomes a little easier to deal with, but only after you have that specific knowledge. I do not have I've lost all my jumps and pretty much all my health too, so I was very much stuck in place, unfortunately, between a rock and a hard place as to what I could do. But now we have the exit key, we can get up to the exit here, and we just need to get into this door, and here's the boss. Those blue fireballs the boss shoots can infinite you, so once you know the timing that he shoots those out, then it's not terrible to deal with it, but until you know the timing of that, it's quite annoying. But there we go, that is that boss down, and we now can get into the next area. So we need to get into another mansion to investigate yokai inside that mansion. The mansion is owned by the owner of the department store, but the owner of the department store is not in, so we're told to go try to find him at the bar. We can't actually get into the bar, so we need to go find him, and we need to find a way into the bar to be able to do that. And to be able to find our way into the bar and get a membership card, we're told by a guy at the skating rink of all places that if we go pick up something from the corporate building for him, he'll give us a membership card. So now I just need to go here. There we go. And there we go. This particular room is annoying. These enemies can eat all our jump inputs, so we do actually need to get rid of them before we can go through. And we have just enough space to do that. And now we can hit that switch and we are good to go. Oh, and we took too much damage off spikes, so we're going to have to redo this room. You can see how bad our attacks hitboxes are with how much I was whiffing in the air. And now I need to just wait for these spikes. And we can get back through. So now we can hit that switch and get back to the exit of this room. Again, most of this game is incredibly circular in nature. I actually did not want to... Yeah, I did not want to do an air dash there, but I accidentally hit twice on the D-pad in a direction, and then I accidentally dashed into those spikes. So, yeah, I have no health again already. Yeah. Yeah, one mistake with those spikes, even though you have health and should be able to, you know, deal with taking a few hits. In practicality, the fact that you lose all control whenever you hit spikes makes it so that you just end up dying slowly by taking multiple hits. But now we can get through, and after getting through everything in that corporation, we now have the stuff we need to get the member card to get into the bar. We need to find the right owner of the department store, and he says, here, tell the girl working at the department store that I'll let you go into the mansion. So we do that, and now we go into the mansion. And at the end of this mansion is the boss of chapter 4. So just need to helps if I go the right direction here. I did not have enough airspeed to get back to that ledge after the enemy placement there. Oh, I really can't take any more hits. But there we go. I can now get to the exit down there. If I do this just right, there we go. I was able to avoid on my first plate, travel through there, the spawn point for a bunch of enemies, which made getting through that section just a tad easier. Now I want to hit that switch. And now I can hit this switch. I can block that. You do have a block ability. It works in very few circumstances. All of these enemies are just kind of grouped up in ways that make it difficult to jump around. But now we can get through here. And we made it. I do not know what happened there. I don't know why I ended up dashing again. I want to be able to get to the edge of that platform without having to damage boost. And now we are to the boss of Chapter 4. This boss is entirely terrible. Our hitbox is so tiny with this sword, and where she moves is entirely random, and her hurt box of where she can actually damage us is massive, but her hurt box on where we can damage her is tiny, and we have a tiny attack. So it's very much a just hit in the air, and we hope that we hit her. That is really this entire boss fight. There is nothing else to it. It is pretty much RNG if we beat it, because just the hurt boxes and hit boxes are that bad. So try to hit her a few times, and she hits us back. We got quite a few hits there. That's good. There we go. So that is the end of that chapter, and I just need to get through and be able to make it into the bookstore. So I go through, and I need to be able to get into the bookstore, so that means I need to go into... Wow, I respawned all the way back here. So I first need to talk to this guy who says, oh, you do want to go into the bookstore, but you can't at the moment. So now we go into the club, and we get a crowbar, which will allow us to, of all things, pull up a manhole cover, which will show where the amount of enemies in that area is just ridiculous. But after pulling up the manhole cover, we now are able to get the keys to the bookstore, and we'll be able to get inside the bookstore now, and we just need to... Oh, well, I took damage on spikes twice, so I can't take any more spike damage, because at least in this chapter, the amount of damage you take on spikes is incredibly consistent. 3 hits on spikes and you are... I'm stuck. I'm literally stuck. I can't move. 3 hits on spikes and you are out in this chapter. It is actually consistent. Of course, you have to keep that in mind and how many hits you've taken. And then we'll be able to know how. So, after... Ooh, okay. I don't have much health left, but... Oh, okay. So now I've gotten some books. We put 2 books in the hidden area, and that's the puzzle. We just need the 3rd and final book to be able to open up this bookshelf. And we have it. Okay. Whew. Okay. Wow. So this game actually has multiple sequels, which is scary. Oh, I did not actually. Thank you. And now we are at this boss fight of the guy that has been stuck in the bookshelf for all this time. He is only attackable on very certain frames after his damage animation, but he can be blocked. So just hold down on the D-pad to hold the block action and wait for him to attack us. And, you know, then whenever he does the attack, just wail away. Hey, get close to me. Thank you. And the purpose of that, you know, that's the only boss we can actually do, you know, that attack on. And now here we go. Combat in this game is terrible because, you know, our hitboxes are terribly inconsistent, and enemies' hitboxes are huge, attack hitboxes are huge and incredibly disjointed. It's not something we ever want to do. We need to get rid of all these enemies before the door opens. So, you know, go figure. Wow. Just random streetlights throw fire at us. But, you know, we got through that, and now we just need to get through here. I don't have very much health left, but that's fine, because all I need to do now is just good movement. There's actually an out of bounds in this room. It is a complete soft lock, so don't mess with it, but there is an out of bounds in that one specific room that I was just in. I found it, and it, well, it kind of ruined my day, we'll say. But, you know, whatever. We just need to get rid of this guy, and now we can open that door up, and we can get to the next to last boss fight of the game. There's 2 of them here, but if we just continually hit forward while attacking, the first guy will just get stuck in an animation loop, and we can continue wailing on him. And we just need to... Oh my goodness. That guy does a truckload of damage. The flying guy. So we hope that our attacks continually to hit him. There we go. Come on, keep hitting him, keep hitting him. There we go. And that boss fight is done. Oh, and I lost all my jumps, so whatever. But we are almost to the end of the game. And I lost all my jumps again. So, go figure. At the very least, this final area is much more movement based. This is the last screen of a large amount of enemies. We can damage boost through quite a few of them, and I did not mean to do that, but you know, whatever. I just went to... There we go. Okay, we are almost through, and here we go. This boss is super easy. We just need to get him stuck in an animation loop. Unfortunately, he can just kind of teleport around whenever he wants to. But While he does that, hey, that is the end of the game. And that is the end of the run. And yeah, there you go. That is Shin Samurai Jazz 2913. Wasn't the best run in the world, but that's basically what Shin Samurai Jazz is like. I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, we defeated all the yokai that were around town, and we ended up, blowing up the world. Enjoy it.